Okay, and we are recording. So, I've said on this channel before, I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I'm not trying to be famous. I really don't want to be famous at all. I want to be successful. Don't want to be famous. I'm not great on camera anyway. But I am someone who feels the need to express myself, and at the moment, this is the way I'm going to do it. So, previous videos I've talked about photography, and I definitely have a couple of more videos that I want to make, and maybe more down the line. But I'm not a great photographer. I'm someone who's much better than I was. And those workshops that I talked about that people trashed me for, many of whom didn't even watch the video, those helped. You can hate Jason Lanier as much as you want, but I'm a much better photographer after going to those workshops. And but I'm still not, you know, I'm still not an amazing photographer. I'm just a decent one at the moment. So it just doesn't make sense to me to make, I mean, what am I going to do? Camera reviews for cameras that I can't afford to buy. So, uh, so there's other things that I want to talk about. And one of the things that I actually am an expert on is comic books. I'm an old school comic book fan, have been since I was, I want to say, 12 years old. Really affected me in my life. My values, who I am as a person. Mostly by Marvel. A little bit DC, but mostly by Marvel. But so I figured one thing that I can talk about for a while is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of which I am a mild fan. I really enjoyed the movies for the first probably 6 or 7 years, and the last 3 years or so haven't been that good. Black Panther, great film, a little dicey in some of the ideological shit that was in it, but really a breath of fresh air as far as like the just the story and just the characters and all that. Didn't care as much for Infinity War. Endgame, I really enjoyed. I'll probably make a video about this at some point, but I really enjoyed Endgame. Not a good story. Uh, really poorly made movie. Uh, I just I did my best to turn my brain off, which is why I was able to enjoy it. But yeah, but I did feel like it was a fitting in for the Marvel that phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe for Marvel movies in general, which we'll talk about as we go into this. Well, let's get started. So Far From Home, okay movie, not great, but okay. Hated the mid-credit sequence. Since it's a new movie, I won't talk about that, but the mid-credit sequence really ruined that movie for me. Let's see. Host Jessica Chobot, or Chabot maybe, introduces Kevin Feige. And let's see. Endgame replacing Avatar as the biggest selling movie of all time. That's good. So Feige introduces Phase 4. Phase 4. Sometimes I trip over words. So Chloe Zhao, don't know who that is. She's directing The Eternals. The Eternals will star Salma Hayek. Huge Salma Hayek fan. Uh, don't think I've ever seen a movie that I disliked with her in it. Can't think of one anyway. Angelina Jolie, big fan. Have definitely seen movies that I didn't like or didn't have any interest in from her. Don't know who Richard Madden is. Kumail Nanjiani, I'm not a huge fan of. I did like that movie that he made about him and his wife, The Big Sick. I thought that was a wonderful film. Uh, kind of indifferent to him otherwise as an actor. I heard that movie with him and Dave Bautista wasn't that good, but I didn't see it. Um, so let me just say right off the bat, as far as Eternals, people underestimate how much of a miracle Guardians of the Galaxy was. I have been a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy property since I was, I don't know, 13 or so. The version of it that's in the movie, I was a big fan of, but when they announced that movie, Again, I was reading the comic. Nobody else was. There's not that many people. I know like two other people that were reading those comics. And I said, Guardians is, I love Guardians, but it's a weird, weird concept. I don't see audiences like this might be Marvel's first mistake. I didn't see it. It just so happens James Gunn just really knocked it out of the park, and he changed all the characters except Rocket. None of the Groot is not the Groot in the comics and Groot in the movie are not similar. You could argue, Peter Star Lord, Peter Quill, but he's really just playing Chris Pratt is playing Chris Pratt. But I guess maybe there's some similarities there. Not really. No. Honestly, now that I think about it, no. But anyway, and Gamora is nothing like Gamora in the comics. It's not even close. But anyway, James Gunn pulled it off. Eternals isn't necessarily as weird a comic book concept as Guardians, but it's still, at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about the Eternals. I'm an old school comic book fan. I don't care about the Eternals. Neil Gaiman, who you may have heard of, didn't create the concept of Sandman, but created the version of Sandman that people who don't read comic books claim to have read. But he wrote a Eternals book, and I think I got through like 2 issues of it. And I'm familiar with some of the characters, but it's just not. It's not something anyone cares about. The Eternals are basically Jack Kirby, who's one of the more famous artists in comic books, co-created Captain America, created Black Panther, co-created most of the Marvel universe with Stan Lee, and some people say he created the whole Marvel, like he did it by himself. So I don't know. I'm not. I don't really want to get into that. But the Eternals was his project. Stan Lee didn't have anything to do with it. And basically, it's they're about these space gods, sort of. So there are these actual space gods called the Celestials, really crazy looking aliens. One of whom did they nowhere in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie is supposed to be the head of a Celestial. They're these giant space gods, and they go to other alien races and transform, mess with their genetics. And so they created these immortal gods called the Eternals. I think you can figure that out from the name. But yeah, I mean, there's a few characters that are prominent. Icarus, the one that apparently Richard Madden, again, don't know who that is playing. He's sort of like the Flash. He's a speedster. I guess he's supposed to be Mercury or can't think of his Greek name. Anyway, and then there's one of them. I think the one that Salma Hayek's probably going to end up playing was an Avenger for a while, but again, nobody cares about it. So could it work? Probably because of the cast. Is anyone really going to give a shit? No. About Marvel movies, Kumail says it's like a throwback to other movies like Casablanca. Yeah, okay. Sam Hayek said, it feels great to take my inspiration from our leader, Chloe, who's also a strong woman. Takes a strong woman to a movie like this because it's so big. One thing that I was thinking about the other day, I'm a big Babylon 5 fan. Babylon 5 is my favorite show of all time. It's one of my favorite things ever. And I was thinking about there's a character named Delenn. I won't go too deep into this, don't worry. I probably already bored you with the Eternals explanation. But there's a moment from that show in the 3rd season that's one of my favorite scenes ever. And basically, Delenn stares down a fleet of Earth ships. She's an alien. She's a member of the Minbari race, and just through force of will, scares away this one. Like I think she had another ship with her, but so the 2 ships versus like 4, and basically tells them to leave or die. and it's an amazing moment. And I was thinking about that, and like people like me are constantly being told we're bigots, we're misogynists, we're all these things. Tim Miller, the guy who's directing the new Terminator, like our we've got this character Grace, and she's gonna scare all those misogynists, and they're not. This movie's gonna do bad because they're not gonna see the movie because they're too scared of a strong woman. And all the strong woman bullshit. And it used to be the characters, and Terminator is a great example of this. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor in Terminator 2, like nobody was scared of her. Not in the sense of how he's talking about him. She was just she played a badass and she was good, and we just accepted that. And characters like Delenn, and there wasn't all this talk of like girl power and strong women. You just made strong characters that were female, and what made them strong, what made them powerful, wasn't their vagina. It was their character. And we've gotten away from that. And I mean, I don't know that Sam Hayek is trying to make a political point here. I don't think she is. But it just like this whole diversity thing and like strong women, girls do it better and all that. Like, no, people do it better. Individuals do it better. Your vagina or your penis does not play a role in your strength as a human being. I mean, I'm sure it plays some role. Every part of you plays a role, but it's not like one thing makes you strong or weak. But I'm proud to have a diverse family. I feel very honored to be a part of a movie that's going to allow people who didn't feel represented to be represented. I don't buy in all that bullshit. I'm an Italian and a Filipino. Like, I've never been represented and I wear a cowboy hat. I've never been represented in anything ever. No books, no movies, no no music, nothing. I'm still able to enjoy things. This is stupid, and this game that they're playing, it's destroying comics. I'm not going to go into it here, but the movie industry, the video game industry, they can survive all this political correctness and forced diversity, but the comics industry is slowly dying. I don't even know how slow it is, honestly. Next thing else was Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. I'll probably eventually get Disney Plus. Right off the bat, I've got some financial difficulties I need to take care of, but eventually, I probably will. I really like Anthony Mackie as Falcon. I didn't care for that little moment at the end of Endgame. I don't want to spoil it. You know what? If you haven't seen Endgame by now, you're probably not going to. When they basically imply that the Falcon is going to be the new Captain America like they did in the comics. And by the way, I like Anthony Mackie as the Falcon in the movies. It's a good character. Falcon in the comics has always been garbage. It's a terrible character, uninteresting. If you saw Civil War, they had the little red bird drone. Yeah, Falcon's power is that he talks to birds. People make fun of Aquaman, who's like basically a god, for talking to fish. Falcon's just a dude with robot wings that it's not even metal wings in the comics, who talks to birds. Anyway, not a big fan of it, but Sebastian Stan, I've always thought, I was like, okay as Winter Soldier, but I'd be willing to give that show a chance. Winter Soldier, trigger words then played, Baron's email, blah blah blah. ShangChi and Legend of the Ten Rings premiere date. So I'm hopeful for ShangChi. I'd like to see them really play this as a true genre film, like real kung fu movie. I'd like to see I can't think of his name that directed the Raid Redemption. I'd love to see those guys be part of this and make this like the thing that I hated about Iron Fist. I didn't hate that. A lot of people said they hated the acting. The fighting wasn't what it needed to be. They needed like incredible fight scenes, I'd like to see that in Shang-Chi. The Ten Rings thing with the Mandarin, Tony Leung will be playing the Mandarin. First of all, and I know people that hate Iron Man 3, but Iron Man 3 is pretty awesome. The whole thing with the Mandarin, I'm not somebody who gets offended by anything. Um, but yeah, it's like the man like this old Chinese stereotype. I mean, granted, I'm sure somebody who looked like the Mandarin existed at some point in human history, but to do that now, I understand why they were hesitant. And actually, I thought the way they played it was rather brilliant. Um, I know there were fanboys that complained. I know some. I know a few that really hated the Mandarin because of that. And um, yeah, I don't feel the need to go to that. I guess they figure if you bring in enough Asian people, they can't really call it offensive. Because Shang-Chi never had anything to do with them. Well, maybe he did, and I just don't know. I haven't read every issue of Shang-Chi, obviously. I don't think I've ever actually read. I've read comics with Shang-Chi. He was in the Avengers briefly, and he's guest starred in like Spider-Man and what have you. But um, anyway, really excited for this movie. They're using an actor, Simu Liu, not super famous here in America. He immigrated from China to Canada 20 years ago. Okay, whatever. Um, Aquafina, uh, I liked. Oh man, I'm just having brain farts over the place. The movie that she's in. The one that like you're supposed to be embarrassed to go see if you're Asian. I can't. I say that because I know a few Asian people. We had this discussion, but it looked good. The one that's in Singapore. I can't think of the movie at the moment, but don't know if I don't know. She can be annoying, certainly. Um, so let's see. WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen, and Paul Bettany. We're finally going to understand Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. What did we not understand about her? I mean, I'm sure there's more to explore. There's a lot of like trauma there in her history, but uh, I don't know. WandaVision makes it sound like it's like a sitcom. Like it was originally called The Scarlet Witch and Vision, or Vision and Scarlet Witch, one of the two. I don't know. Monica Rambeau will be an adult played by Teyonah Parris. Monica Rambeau is a great character when used properly and not sidelined. Um, I know they introduced her in Captain Marvel. Didn't see Captain Marvel. Just because almost full. Well, that's lovely. Um, so, I'm interested in all that. Like I said, I'm just not going to buy Disney Plus right off the bat. So we'll see. Loki, yeah, they explain last thing that happened to Loki was the events of Avengers Endgame. Tom, his plans for Loki is one of the most exciting creative opportunities I've ever come across. I can't wait to get started. Yeah, okay. I'm not as in love with Tom Hiddleston's Loki as other people are. I think he's really good. I think he's one of the better villains. I don't think he's the best. I think Claw from Black Panther, who they killed off, of course, and Mahershala Ali's Cottonmouth over in Luke Cage were the two best. And it's kind of what and what. Because they're very different characters. Claw is fun, and Mahershala Ali's Cottonmouth was just really wicked and beautifully done. Doctor Strange. So, Doctor Strange is sort of the epitome of what I'm talking about when I say like these movies have gotten mediocre over the last few years. Beautiful film, beautifully done, like visually, not that great, honestly. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The director came on stage to talk about Doctor Strange and its psychedelic weirdness. We're gonna make the first scary MCU movie. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness sounds like a joke. I don't know. It will maintain the integrity of humor with the twist of horror that will have people gripped. That is barely English, and this is Benedict Cumberbatch, who is English. It will maintain the integrity of humor with the twist of horror that will have people gripped. That's okay. That says nothing. I guess he's saying they're going to be joking even though he's going to be facing horrific things. Which Doctor Strange is appropriate for a horror story. Um, so, I mean, there's one of his big villains is Nightmare, who is literally the stuff of nightmares. He'll be facing unexpected things. Well, I mean, I would hope so. He'll be in the position of the audience not knowing what's coming at him. We're going back to trying to destroy him, I think. Is okay. Oh, the whole multiverse thing. I mean, it's great in the comics when used appropriately, but I think in the movies it's just too much for an audience. The events of WandaVision will be reflected and tied into Doctor Strange. That's a horrible decision. What If? I used to love What If comics. The ones that they put out occasionally now are garbage, but the original What Ifs were great. Basically, what happened if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? And, one of them that Rob Liefeld drew, what if Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., has this weird pig nose Wolverine on it? No one cares. Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, Kate Bishop will be in it. Could be good, depending on who's playing Kate Bishop. Again, this is just another Disney Plus series, which I don't think are going to be as big a deal as people want it to be. Thor: Love and Thunder with Chris Hemsworth, Taika Waititi, and Tessa Thompson. And of course, they announced that it's going to follow. It's somewhere in here. So for us, there's only one person who can play that role. Please welcome Natalie Portman. Okay. So Marvel in 2014 did a story where Jane Foster became the new Thor. Thor was declared unworthy of having the hammer, and he became known as the Odin's son. He literally lost his name, and Jane Foster became the new female Thor. And look, the guy who wrote it, Jason Aaron, is great. He's a great writer. He's written a lot of amazing things, including Thor. That story, it lasted for a long time. So other people, I guess, liked it. I don't know to what degree. I always called her Thora Birch. It just made me giggle. But yeah, the idea that Thor is a title and not his name is stupid. Like he literally stopped being Thor. Thor was no longer Thor. They had to call him the Odin's son because he wasn't worthy of his name. I read a few issues of it. It was okay. The artist Russell Doterman was really, really good, and the design for female Thor, which they call that female Thor. Like, isn't that isn't that non-PC? Isn't it? Maybe they're misogynist. So she's not female Thor. She's just Thor. You should know that. Anyway, don't care. Probably not going to see it. And also, Taika Waititi. I know everyone loved Thor Ragnarok, and I enjoyed it. It was very funny. I laughed my ass off in that movie. Not a great Thor story. Actually, not a well done film. Like it was very clear that he didn't give a shit. I don't understand this. Like, so he took this movie. I know I'm going to go off on a rant here, but so he took this movie that's about Asgardian gods, and he's just like, yeah, let's get rid of that and let's just go to this like cyberpunk 80s space planet. Which, yeah, I know it's based on the not World War Hulk, the story. World War Hulk was like the third part of it, but the Hulk goes to space, ends up on a planet called Sakaar. But even that was more of a gladiator story. Like, and you see bits of that, but they kind of got rid of all of it, honestly. And Taika Waititi had openly said like he didn't watch the other movies and was just happy to crap all over the other films. Like in the first Thor movie, there's a line where Odin says, "We're not gods. We may appear to be gods to humans, but we're not." In the third Thor movie, in Thor Ragnarok, Odin just goes, "Yeah, we're gods. You're the god of thunder. He's the god of lies. We're gods. We're gods." Uh, in the first Thor movie, Thor doesn't have his powers because Mjolnir in Thor Ragnarok, Mjolnir's destroyed, and it turns out Odin says, "Oh, it's just a hammer. I just lied to you. It's just a hammer. This whole time you didn't know. You didn't know." Like, oh, that would have came in handy to know. Uh, but so yeah, so according to Taika Waititi, it's just a hammer. But then how does Jane Foster become Thor? That doesn't make sense, does it? Like, oh, so she picks up Mjolnir and now she has the powers of Thor. I don't know. I wonder if this isn't going to be some sort of game. I don't think it is because I think it's diversity enough. I know I used that word wrong, but I think diversity is basically uh, would that be a adjective? Did I use it as an adjective or an adverb? I can't remember. Uh, Diverse enough. I think, but diversity is a thing now. Like I know the word I should have used is diverse. It's diverse enough, but diversity enough. I think that makes sense in the current context. But anyway, female Thor. I think it clicks all the social justice boxes, and they'll definitely want her to be Thor. And I gotta say, it makes me. It's not the reason that I'm out on all these movies, but it's earlier, I think I might have mentioned like I was happy to walk away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Endgame because I felt like it was a nice closer to it. And this sort of, I don't know. I don't really care about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Black Panther 2 uh, could be interesting. I think it's the same crew. I love the cast, so I'm definitely possibly going to see that. But same for Black Widow, actually. I love Scarlett Johansson in it. So let's see. Black Widow movie came to the stage. The director talked about Natasha's great heroine. There's so many secrets and vulnerability. Oh, okay. I don't think I could have played this iteration of Natasha 10 years ago. I get to play Natasha as a fully realized woman in all of her many facets, and I'm excited for fans to see the flawed side of her, which she perceives flawed side. I'm looking at. Okay, wipeouts on the red my ledger. People kind of overused that line, but I mean, it was a good line in the first movie. Uh, and I think, do they mention here Florence Pugh is going to be in it from Fighting with My Family? I love that movie. If you've never seen it, it's a good movie. If you love wrestling, it's a great movie. And even if you don't, it's a good movie. But Florence Pugh is playing, I believe, Yelena Belova, who was the second Black Widow, at least in terms of Marvel Comics. Previously I'm going to join Black Widow hats. Oh, I wear a Black Widow hat. I mean, I'm already wearing a hat. My eyes itching. Oh. Uh, so then Kevin Feige teased Black Panther 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Captain Marvel 2. Black Panther 2, cool. I've definitely given it a chance. Guardians, I'll see the trailer. I don't know that I care at this point. They've wrecked that timeline so much that I really don't know how that story is going to work. Um, Captain Marvel, I'm done. I'm not interested in girl power and all this nonsense. Didn't have time to talk about the Fantastic Four. I didn't even have time to talk about mutants. Okay, so they did mention that the Fantastic Four is coming, which I think I think is a great thing. I think Kevin Feige has a chance. I mean, again, he hadn't been hitting on all cylinders lately, but I think I'll do a video on how the Fantastic Four why it's failed as a film multiple times now because it's not a superhero story. It's a story about explorers. But anyway, Mahershala Ali, who I mentioned earlier, has announced his Blade. Um, I love that actor, so I'm definitely down for it. I mean, it's hard to picture anyone else besides Wesley Snipes as Blade. Some of the greatest line readings of all time. Wesley Snipes was Blade, man. Blade Trinity all day. And I'm not even joking. That is one of the most quotable films I've ever seen in my life. But Mahershala Ali is awesome. So yeah, down for that. So we got a mixed bag here. Um, Overall, most of the stuff is pretty okay. Again, Thor: Love and Thunder. No, I'm done. Eternals, maybe we'll see. I don't think the audience is going to react to that very well. And not all Marvel movies are reacted the same way. Like Ant Man didn't do that well. Ant Man was okay. It's another one of those just kind of mediocre but fun movies. And I love Paul Rudd. Um, Same thing with Ant Man and the Wasp. Um, So yeah, so I guess that's it for this. There's no other announcements, but yeah, definitely interested to see more about what they're gonna do with Fantastic Four. And again, I think I'm gonna make a video about that. That might be my next video because I have a lot to say about that. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe, again, I'm gonna talk about different things. Sometimes it'll be comic books, movies, stuff like that. Maybe photography, just whatever's on my mind. Thank you for watching. That is not what I need to click off of. All right, bye.